Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our fashionably late edition of Six Rings Canes. Going on, all you listen, we got stuff to talk about today for real, so glad to be back here. What's going on, Blue, Vish, DJ? How you guys doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Sound like we make up things the rest of the time, and we have real things to talk about today.
Yeah, we just we'll fly by.
No filler today. No filler.
DJ, I know you're probably particularly interested in one specific topic of conversation.
Yeah,
today.
actually, very.
So we're pretty excited to talk about it because I think finally the Hurricanes made some moves in the transfer portal. And
RIP to Barry Jackson saying that we couldn't get anyone in the portal anymore because there's no NIL money or whatever argument he was trying to make a couple of weeks ago. But yes,
that
things have happened.
That might be the last time we mentioned that guy's name on this show. That's for sure. But anyway. Anyways, yeah, let's get right into it because I think that's, look at Mel already taking.
Melissa gets the show. She gets the show. DJ, we still need a tight end, right?
There is a tight end we'll talk about.
Die on that hill. I will die on this hill.
There is a tight end we will talk about a little bit later, and Blue, I want you to kind of chime in on him on Caleb Odom, but. Before we get to that, let's go right into it. The Canes announced 2 commitments in the last few hours, so kind of crazy, right? We've been seeing all the signals, all the bat signals as we like to call them, from all the coaches and everybody kind of talking it up. How it looks like we might get something coming in, giving these signals and whatnot. And finally, a couple of guys landed today. It looks like these are some of the guys that have been recruited, recently, but that of course the coaching staff has had their eye on. The first one I want to talk about, though, is the Nebraska running back, Ajay Allen, who has 3 years of eligibility left. However, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, DJ, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this right off the bat. It's a nice size back, 5'11", and about 190 pounds. Pretty decent size. Not a small guy by any means. Not a huge guy either, but kind of your prototypical size for a running back, 5'11", 6 feet tall, more or less. What can you talk to me? What can you say, about Ajay Allen playing over in Nebraska? You got to see a little bit of him. Mm-hmm. He's also had some injuries, right? So he's coming off an injury, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's the knock on him. Oh, the Canes went after another running back with injury issues. Well, DJ, talk to me. Is that something to be concerned about, or what are we going to get out of a guy like Ajay Allen?
Well, when healthy, you're going to get a guy who's a very shifty running back. He's not the biggest. I believe he's 5'11", but he had 33 carries for 190 yards and a couple touchdowns before he went down with the injury in September. Like you said, it was a collarbone injury. He played the backup running back role to Anthony Grant at Nebraska. He's very shifty. He's very quick with his feet. He can explode through holes, and he's a very kind of bowling ball physical type of running back as well. He's a very good prototype in terms of a running back. It's what you want. And as far as the collarbone injury and people concerned about, we're getting another, injury prone running back or whatever. This is a position where you have a lot of depth, so you can afford to take a flyer on a guy like Allen who has tremendous talent and you have other guys in the room as well. So he's not going to be your feature guy. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, and Miami definitely got another good one. And 3 years left of eligibility. I think, he may not be able to make the biggest splash in the running back room just because there are so many bodies and so many mouths to feed, but he's definitely a really, really good guy and another source of talent at a position that already has a bunch.
Yeah, Blue. When you see a guy like a Jai Allen, who has 3 years of eligibility. Yes, he is coming off an injury, so it kind of gives him time to be able to recuperate, rehab his injury. Not be rushed to have to come in and say, "I'm going to be the bell cow of this offense." But when you're also talking about depth, I think this is the right move from a depth perspective, considering if God forbid, some of the guys in front of him get hurt. This is now we're talking about a guy who's, I don't want to say formidable, but a really good option to kind of come in and get some playing time. What can you talk to me about a Jai Allen?
Well, first of all, I mean, I remember during the spring, Matt Rule, when he came aboard, was really intrigued by him. He looked at what he had is as DJ said, he does have some breakaway speed. He's not just a tackle to tackle guy, all the time because of his power. You see, that's the one thing that these running backs have to figure out. You're not gonna always bounce everything outside, not at the college level. I mean, unless you're a Chris Johnson or you're a guy that runs in the 4.3, low 4.3 range. But this is a guy that had kind of mixed it up from tackle to tackle, kind of, picked out his holes, very athletic coming out of high school. I remember that a lot of people had talked about him, his vision, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, good blocker too. So yeah, I think he kind of fits right in, kind of helps ease in some of the younger guys, and gives them now a fairly crowded room, because now you have two guys plus him with little experience, but he does, and he kind of conquered the first 2 years of his career. So he's been in college for 2 years, so he kind of got that out of the way. So I think, listen, you weren't going to pick up a marquee kid. You weren't going to pick up a 5-star guy right now. I mean, let's face it. So, here you got a guy who's, as he said, serviceable, and somebody who fits in with what Miami's doing in the room.
Yeah, Vish, obviously we've all been talking about, the running back room may not be the first thing you think about when it comes to, having to add somebody in the transfer portal. However, we saw last year, right, the issues that we had at that position, and we had what we thought were some really, really good options there at that position. Now you got to replace some guys, obviously some guys in the transfer portal, some guys from graduation, and then behind guys like Henry Parrish and Don Chaney, yeah, you've got two really good freshmen in Fletcher and Chris Johnson. And you've got Trevante Citizen coming off an injury. But those are kind of unproven guys, right, that really haven't gotten on the field. And then you got Terrell Walden, who's, a kid that can come in and, maybe get a couple carries here and there. Not a terrible back, but now you add a guy like Allen. And I think that this running back room has a little more confidence now, for not only for the coaching staff, for the fan base, to kind of say, okay, now we've got 3 or 4 guys that can really come in and play. I think it was a much needed spot to fill at running back.
Yeah, and I think he fits a need, assuming he's healthy, of course, and he retained his explosiveness that is lacking there. I think we talked a lot about how Cheney's the most complete back and kind of do everything, and Chris Johnson's a track guy, is lightning fast, but he's a freshman, and so this kind of fills that role. You can see them recruiting the type a little bit here. This is an explosive kid that can make big plays out of the backfield, and that was something that we missed across the board, not just at running back, but at every position. That's where, before Van Dyke got injured, it was a lot of, we're great between the 20s. Part of that is because you don't have the explosiveness to take it in from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. You get stuck. Right. Scoring in the red zone is hard for everyone. Obviously, with us, it was even worse because we just weren't good offensively. But getting that explosiveness is huge for this team, and hopefully they can find a way to get the ball in his hands, because he's a kid that can take it the distance, and we need playmakers, period. and he's that. So whether he's going to get a ton of carries, probably not. You got Parrish, you got Cheney; those are going to be your primary guys. But he'll bring a different element, home run ability, and big play to the position, which this team needs. We were hurting for big plays and explosive plays last year, and it can't all be generated out of the passing game. And it's someone the defense is going to have to account for. And as everyone's mentioned, played major college Big Ten football for multiple years already. He's definitely ready to come in and play in the ACC immediately. So I think this is a great depth addition, but also someone that we can get that brings a unique skill set as well. So I think there's chances for him to not just provide depth, but to supplement the running back room as is.
I got a question for Blue, but real quick before we get to that, I know King is today. Blue looks like a legend.
Is does not look like it is a legend.
He also Kings today also asked, "Are we getting a wide receiver? Please, that's all I'm asking for." We'll definitely get to that in just a second. So we'll talk a little bit about the wide receiver position.
I think we want to get through that. There's another, get through the two kids that committed today, and then we'll talk about potential future.
Exactly. Real quick before we get on to the next guy, though, Blue, are you surprised that we didn't go after Alton McCaskill from Houston, who entered the transfer portal because of his obviously
association too? Yeah, I am. Here I thought that you'd have an opportunity to get somebody that your coordinator knows pretty well. It's kind of surprising. But there's so many things that go on now. There's really nothing ever kind of etched in stone. But I think Miami's done really well for this 24 class. I mean, they just really started out. I think right now they're going to do a kind of a combination type of thing between the portal and certainly this class. But no, I was kind of surprised, being that your OC had a pretty good relationship with them.
Yeah.
One thing I would say on that, though, and I don't really know much about the kid and his abilities, but we should not be picking up a bunch of players from Houston, right? I mean, we kind of joked about this, or maybe I did, but that Manny's not picking up any of our players out of the portal for Penn State, is he? Were these really Miami kids? If all these defensive players are jumping into the portal that he recruited, he doesn't want any of them. And we've also kind of talked a lot about how many of our kids are ending up at SMU. Like, we should be a level above SMU and Houston talent and on the Penn State level, and we clearly haven't been, right? Because there's a happy landing spot for a lot of our players. Yes, they know Lashley. Yes, they know his offense, but also kids at Miami, if they're transferring out of Miami, if they're actually Miami talent, shouldn't be going to SMU. And the same thing goes the other direction. Like, I'm sure there are Miami caliber players at Houston, some of them,
yeah,
right, but not all of them. And so he probably, if you're looking at the talent flatly, Allen's a much higher rated prospect, so we aimed higher.
Well, not only that, I think McCaskill is probably looking for more of a, more snaps, right? I think he's probably looking at more. I kind of want to start or whatever. Whereas Allen, coming off an injury, 3 years of eligibility, still has time to kind of grow and develop. Whereas McCaskill is kind of an older guy, so I think that's the reason. Maybe you don't get a lot of guys like you said. Yeah, I am peeking at it, so it is true.
I mean, I would make fun of him, but I full on watched a Cowboys playoff game while commenting on it during one of our shows. So, this happens sometimes.
It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough not to watch what they're doing right now, which is pretty amazing. But Allen left because there was too much talent in the Nebraska running back group. Why would he come here?
I think you're drawing a conclusion from facts that are not entirely in evidence. I don't know that that's why.
DJ, is that true? Do you feel like it was too much of a crowded room there?
That room is full. That room is full, and Matt Rule likes what he sees in that room. I think there was recruiting in the Texas area from Brian Applewhite, who was here during the Scott Frost era, the final season that Frost was at Nebraska, which was last year. Frost gets fired. Allen really has no ties to Nebraska anymore. I could see why he would want to enter the portal, especially since Matt Rule brought in an entirely new coaching staff. Now, that Nebraska running back room is crowded, and that is actually one of the questions I had for you guys. why would Allen come here when Miami already has a good sizable room of running backs?
Well, just real quick, because I'm going to answer that question. But if anyone has an aversion to hearing someone chomp on ice, you might want to, turn your speakers down. But you've been warned. But I actually don't necessarily agree with that, because I think it's the second part that DJ touched on. New coaching staff, building new relationships, right? Maybe he doesn't like them. It's one thing to go in there and compete for a position with coaches you have a trusting relationship with. It's a totally different one to do it with new guys that you have no relationship.
Allen was the only one that left, though. So
right, but again, it's doing it with a staff you have no relationship with. It's a totally different thing. Why does he trust those coaches? Maybe he trusts our coaches more. Like, there's all sorts of things that go into making that decision. It's not just, I don't want to compete, I'm getting out of here. It's new. If it was Scott Frost and the same coaches there, that's a different story entirely. This is a whole new, maybe he doesn't like their coaches. Like, these are people he does not know. They weren't who he committed to play with. Yeah. These are completely different coaches now, which is a much likelier explanation than I'm afraid of competition, especially when, as we said, we have competition here. We think there's a role for him here. It's definitely not a starting role. It's frankly not even in the primary backup role. That's going to be Parrish and Chaney in some order. But he showed up here, so I don't think it's fair to say, there was too much competition. He got crowded out of the room. I think it's a lot of, who are these guys that just showed up here? I don't like them. Or they're not the guys that recruited me. There's no relationship there. I'm going to start looking around. Hey, I like Miami better. I'd rather be there. That's a much, in my opinion, more obvious answer than he didn't want to deal with competition, because he didn't get handed a starting or even a backup job here. He's coming in at best as third string.
Right.
So
he probably was in that situation in Nebraska too.
Yeah, I don't think competition was as much to do with it as when coaches get fired and they move on. Like, a lot of players, as much as we say you should commit to the program, not the coach, that's a farce. Like, let's be real here. You're working under a coaching staff, and you're working. And I see the chat, and I'll show all these. I know Jazz about to tell me, make sure you show all that stuff. I got it. But I think, we always say, oh, commit to the program. That's BS. You're committing to the coaching staff. That's who you're working with. Those are your bosses.
Yeah, there's no such thing as loyalty to.
Yeah, well, it's also like, if a different person runs it, like this program being run by Al Golden, being run by Manny Diaz, being run by Mark Richt, and being run by Mario Cristobal, 4 different programs. So what are we talking about, right? Matt Rule came in there, and he's probably not going to do worse than Scott Frost. Maybe he'll improve it. Maybe the program will take off. Maybe he's going to do great there. But it's still not the same program that this kid that Allen signed up to play at. Right. So of course he's going to start looking around. Like, to me, that's just natural. I'm not really worried about that.
But DJ brought up a good point. I mean, he probably would have been behind Anthony Grant and also
number 2.
Well, he was in Gabe Irvin, and then they got the 2 freshman kids that came in last year. The kid Ives, who a lot of people think is real good, and the Emmett Johnson kid. So, it wasn't any guarantee that he probably would even been 3rd or 4th when the season started. So, you take your chances. But I know that when Rule came in and the guys that he brought, some of the young kids that he got just in this last recruiting class, the kid Ives was one of the Quentin Ives kid was one of the top players. And also, like I said, the Emmett Johnson. So you got 2 freshmen, and then Gabe Irvin's only a sophomore. So Grant was the only guy with experience. And, you look at it just like I think what Rambo did that year. I mean, you look at Rambo, and he was, come on. He was just a major talent, but all those receivers that Oklahoma brought in, and how ironic it was after he came here, they started all leaving Oklahoma. But chances you take. But I agree with Vish, and I think this is a guy that certainly, he's got the 2 years under his belt of just being in the college atmosphere, and that makes a big deal because when you come in now, you're a little bit more confident. You've kind of adjusted in the classroom a little bit, and on the football field, I think Miami's, this is sort of like coming into a different environment as far as how Mario runs things. It's He'll drive you away if you're not used to it. Believe me, it's like one of those quote unquote heat cultures. They run you into the ground, and you sometimes, oh, maybe this isn't for me. But I think that what they did their homework, and obviously they've got to understand. It's just, are we bringing in a guy that's gonna not fit in? It's sort of like you have to do background checks. You have to do what so the guy was hurt, but before he was hurt. And I'm sure they talked to people. I'm sure they talked to high school coaches and people who recruited him, and what his capabilities are. And now it's up to them to bring that out.
Yep, I agree. I got to answer this one question. The one right on top of that, Cheney might fall back in the RB group. Fall back where? Where is he falling back? Cheney's the best on this team. Cheney's the best. If you ask me, this is my opinion, but I think a lot of people agree with that. Don Cheney is the best back on this team. When he's healthy, and he is healthy, his explosiveness, his strength, his vision, everything. Yeah, he's the best back on this team. I don't know where he would fall back to, and Harris is really good too. Another really good back.
Game savvy, that's what he's got over everybody in the room. His Powers just played more games, and his experience and as talented as Cheney is, he hasn't played that much.
He hasn't, and I know everybody says when he is healthy, and I've been guilty of saying that also, but I think that we need to kind of just stop saying that and just.
I mean, there's no evidence that he's got some kind of chronic injury that should impact him going forward.
They've all been different type of injuries.
It's all just been, I hate to say it's bad
both
luck.
Legs, shoulder.
Bad luck more than anything else. And I think he knows, and the coaches know, and everyone in the program knows, he's the guy.
Yeah,
if he's healthy, he's the guy. That's why you see kids transfer. The reason he hasn't transferred, he knows all I gotta do is stay healthy.
Yeah, right.
And I gotta do that anywhere. No one's playing an injured player, so
sure.
I can stay healthy just as well here as anywhere else. And I know how talented I am, and the coaches know it, and everyone recognizes that within the program. Like, I think you're gonna see some. And Parrish is good. Make no mistake, like Jazz said, he's good. He's a good running back, but
Absolutely.
this is a whole other level of play. I think you're going to see elite talent if he's healthy. That you're going to forget existed there. Like, he would have been playing in front of Knighton as well. Like, this is someone that was the best running back in that class that we could have possibly brought in. And just
I agree. And then Fletcher comes in and he elevates the room too, because this is a kid.
Yeah.
I think when Fletcher gets things going, he's a Big Ten type of back. He runs downhill. I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, we don't have anybody that size. I don't. That he's just a huge guy that he comes out of the backfield, whether it's from the line of scrimmage or coming out of the backfield on passing down. He's a terror. You're not going to be able to bring him down by the shirt. And, and that's where a lot of people are just, especially if he's paired in with a linebacker, a lot like Lamar Miller used to do. I mean, he's bigger than Lamar Miller, but that same, he's going to be, at the beginning, just trying to, when he gets in there, he's going to have Cheney, he's going to have a couple other backs. But I think that when Fletcher gets things going, and it could be this year, he's going to be, he's going to be that guy. It's going to, do those wheel routes. He's going to be that guy who's going to catch that real short pass in space and then let him do his own thing. And then he'll get his line from scrimmage. But as Vish alluded to, I mean, we've got the backs that can run from the line of scrimmage now. And it's just a guy that size kind of softens things up for you.
All right, let's talk real quick about Jadaeus Richard. We'll bring Mel on in a second, but I want to get your takes on Jadaeus Richard as well. I think this is an even bigger land today as the Kings get another solid defensive back out of another SEC school. Yeah, I know, it's Vanderbilt, but listen, this is a good pickup. This is a solid pickup at a position where I think we needed another guy. Jadaeus Richard. I think I'm saying his name right. First name Jadaeus. He's a cornerback, a big kid out of Vanderbilt. 6'2", 200 pounds. So he's a nice size, kind of like the same size that Tyreek was more or less here as well. So kind of like that big physical cornerback that could come in and make some noise. Blue, what do you know about Jadeus, Richard?
Well, the thing I know about him is what I've heard a lot from Twan Russell. Twan's kid plays at Vandy. He's actually he's on the other, was on the other side. And, this is a kid is 200 pounds, he's 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, I remember when he was coming out of high school, out of West Monroe in Louisiana, very intelligent guy. I mean, you're getting a guy who, certainly has come from great stock in high school because West Monroe is always top 10, 12 in the nation. A guy that, can, when he needs to, not only, cover, but also a kid that could tackle. Last year, I think it was last year, last year he played against Florida and had a really, really good game against Florida. You look at that guy, I mean, and as well as I do. I mean, when you get that, like the Roland Smith stock out of high school, and then you send him on to the Vanderbilt, which has good coaching. I mean, like I always said, I mean, they're in arguably have one of the toughest schedules in the country, year in and year out, playing that SEC school. He's a guy that's going to come in, and the kid is a long jumper on the track team. He was at 11 flat, and as a kid who can run pretty fast. And I just think he's an intelligent guy, and you won't have to tell him things 5 times. But I think the biggest thing that Jadeus brings to the table is the fact that he has got some really, really good size, and he's played against high-level competition.
And again, it's a depth, right? Like just as much depth as you can bring at that position.
Sure.
Like we talked a lot about how, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit, positions in need. And we've certainly talked a lot about the front seven, right? But one way you can help the front seven is to be able to cover. And we need options on the defensive backfield. I think we're very comfortable at safety, corner, much less so. And this just adds more depth. Injuries happen. You get into different package coverages. You get into teams that play a lot of receivers. You got to go to your third and fourth guys on a lot of plays. If you're starting to talk about, and he's going to probably push for a starting role, but even as the nickel, coming in and being able to cover, like this is, we're going away from having to use someone with no experience or someone with limited experience to, hey, this guy started in the SEC, as Blue said, used to playing against big time competition. And I want to tie this into a question we had earlier too about is this gonna with Allen, and is this gonna turn off 24 recruits because we want to bring in more running backs? We are, again, I feel like I say this every week. We need to take. We need to just come to terms with where we are as a program.
That's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, but we do not have the talent to ever turn away. I don't care what position it is. A kid starting in the SEC, even if it's Vanderbilt, you can get their best. You get the best corner off of an SEC team, even if that team is Vanderbilt. You take it and you run, and that's what we did. So we'll figure out how to use him. Maybe he'll start. Maybe he'll be the nickel. He's going to make an impact, and this is what building depth in looks like. Ideally, a year or two from now, get to the point where you have starting caliber players that aren't in the too deep because they got to wait their turn. Right. And right now, we're not even close. So bring them all in.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. And DJ brought up a great point back in the back, DJ. These guys might have ties, believe it or not, right, to this program, to the coaching staff. They're both Louisiana guys.
Yeah.
And we know Guidry and both Shannon Dawson are both Louisiana guys, so they may have recruited.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
So,
because he was a high-level kid coming out, Jazz, and coming out of high school and played at a really good program. And remember, he came out of high school as a safety, so so he showed the agility to when you could show the agility and go from a safety to a corner, especially at that level. I mean, if you played at the AAC or another conference like that, you can understand. But geez, you make that move in the SEC, and that's pretty impressive, I think.
How many years does he have left? I don't know. I don't remember. Is he?
He's got 3, I believe.
3 also? Nice. Okay, so
2 or 3. trying to think what I read today about where he was. Damn, I thought he
Well,
was
either
a
way, I mean,
sophomore.
that definitely builds some legitimate depth there for sure, because now you got guys that can be here for a little bit and kind of develop with this team and with the coaching staff and kind of learn the system. So that's nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, those are the two big guys that we picked up today in the transfer portal. He's a freshman. There you go, Kings today. So
Oh
okay,
yeah, okay.
3 years left. That's good. That's
Yeah,
nice.
I know he has a couple years left.
I like that. Let's bring in our slot receiver. You see what I did there? Let's bring in our slot receiver into the show so we can talk.
She's the nickelback, right? She's the fifth DB on the field.
Yeah, no. Give her the slot receiver, or maybe another tight end. She's the other tight end.
Exactly. We need at least 5 or 6 tight ends. So yeah, she can definitely be a tight end.
All right, Mel, get your butt in here real quick. What's up, Nelly Mel?
What up?
Actually,
doing, Mel?
I was waiting for her because she told me she was going to show up to do this, but little buckets tangent of sorts, but not really, because our other co-host Matt got married and he just tweeted out photos. So I'm gonna indulge us here a little bit, but look at this dude's backdrop at his wedding.
Yeah,
this is our co-host.
That's
that
nice.
is nice
picturesque.
This is our other buckets co-host Matt. Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Got married over the weekend and looks like it was picturesque. So anyway,
Congratulations, Natty Ice.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, that was my brief buckets tangent. But
looks like a wonderful day.
We'll eventually have all three of us on a show at once.
I kind of want to get everybody's take on this because everybody keeps talking wide receivers. Hey, we need a wide receiver. We need a wide receiver. Yada yada yada. Well, there's a couple names out there in the transfer portal that that are really looking at Miami hard. Right, we've been talking about primarily a couple kids. I really want to talk mostly about Shamar Kirk. I think is one of the big names that we've been hearing that's tied to Miami. And also, I'm not even sure, is Jaquay Johnson still tied to Jaquay Jackson?
I don't think so. I know that Kirk is, though.
Talk to me, Blue, about Shamar Kirk.
Yeah, could be another Kobe Young type of guy, coming out of junior college, 6'5", 220 pounds. I mean, this is a guy that's got an opportunity to be the outside guy that they're looking for, another kind of a depth guy. I'm sorry, Kirk was like 6'2". I'm sorry, I was saying. But yeah, I mean, I remember him. He came out of Nashville, Tennessee, which is another area that our coaches have recruited in the past. I mean, he went to Reedley, which is out in Northern California, and it's Reedley has put their share of outstanding talent. A lot went to Utah, and a couple of kids over the last few years went to UCLA, and I believe Oregon. So this may be kind of a tie-in to some of the coaches out there as well. I think he projects as a Z. In Miami's offense, and not bad. I mean, just Miami, and like I said, kid will catch the ball. He's got really good hands. He's reliable, and he's got really good speed. So obviously, we're looking at depth. You look at Kobe and Jacoby George, and those are two guys that I think kind of stepped up in the spring to show that they're going to be the outside guys, and Restrepo will be inside. So now you just talk about depth and rotation, and I think that's what you're bringing in now, and that's what you have, in guys that stayed over, like we talked last week, Vish. Redding never left, so he's going to be in that mix somewhere. Whether it's the last receiver, but Miami needs depth, and I think this helps.
This is what I think, and Mel, I'll go to you on this because, now we can talk about having a crowded wide receiver room with all these names. Nobody, like you said, Blue, nobody left, right? Nobody transferred out. You've got the Kobe Young and Jacoby George and Restrepo, Rashard Smith. Some of these names that we
Ray and
Ray and
Bobby Washington, and
the list goes on, right? However, still not a lot of experience, not a lot of you don't know who your go-to guy is. I know we've seen glimpses with Kobe Young. And we saw Jacoby George kind of put on a little bit of a clinic in the spring game, so he looks good. But Mel, you're talking about now bringing in a guy potentially like Shamar Kirk, another big time player who is ready for this level of football. He's ready at the college level. He doesn't, he's not a guy. Well, he's going to come in and he has to kind of develop and this that, and the other. No, this is a guy that can come in and potentially take one of those starting spots if you blink your eyes. This is good, right? Because it's going to add more competition to that room. And I think that eventually, once you bring some of these guys in, you'll be able to get. I mean, someone's bound to just kind of stand out and separate themselves from the rest as that alpha wide receiver, right?
I mean, they say it all the time. The toughest competition you want is on Green Tree. So iron sharpens iron, man. Bring as many people in as we need to get the best players on the field.
Yep, I agree. DJ, is bringing in a guy like Shamar Kirk, something that I think Miami needs to do. So, something. I know Keon Coleman ended up. I believe somebody said they ended up at FSU. Well, they just lost Micah Pittman to Utah too, so kind of like traded one for the other. Keon Coleman is another really good wide receiver. But Shamar Kirk is someone that Miami could really use to come in and kind of solidify himself as one of the top wide receivers in this group, right?
Yeah, because you saw when, and of course everybody's a year older now, but you saw when Restrepo went down last year how we were kind of searching for that playmaking wide receiver or that go-to weapon, and that's how Colby Young emerged, right? And so to get another guy from the JUCO ranks in Kirk, that just gives Miami more flexibility at the position. It doesn't put them in a situation to where they say, oh, we don't have enough depth. They're panicking about depth during the season. It allows them to kind of see where the room stands, and it also gives them a player with experience. So, I mean, especially with this offense, which is going to feature a lot of passing, to say the least. I think bringing in a guy like Kirk, bringing in a playmaker like Kirk will be able to help this room kind of continue to grow and continue to, gel in addition to adding depth.
Vish, Mel kind of said it right? Iron sharpens iron, and at some point, you get all these wide receivers in a room and they battle it out. Someone's got to come out of it with the top three positions, and then you start building from depth from there, and the competition only gets stronger, right? I think that you keep on. I think, right, and I think we've spoken about this. You bring in one or two wide receivers from the transfer portal, and I think it's only going to make that room stronger.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we know the kids on campus and all that. None of them have done anything. Like Restrepo, he played a couple of games and then got hurt. George started last year hurt. They flashed talent. Colby Young had that spurt in the middle of the season where he looked really good and then kind of disappeared. None of them have really performed at any kind of level where like, oh, we're set here. So I think, you bring in, let them compete, but I mean, I don't think any of these positions are solidified. No one's actually done anything at the college level for any kind of consistent period of time. We don't have established players. So why would we hesitate to bring anyone in we think could make an impact there?
I agree.
Again, I keep saying this. We got to come to terms with the talent on this team and how it's performed and what it is at this point. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of where we are. Anytime you get talent, really, again, at any position, because we don't have proven players pretty much anywhere. So I mean, we're good at safety because Cam Kitchens is proven. Van Dyke has had one good year 2 years ago. We don't have any kind of track record of anything right now. So I know
I don't think anybody should be.
Well, I mean, I think we watch these kids in high school and and they're big time recruits and we fall in love with them and then we're like, oh, we got this guy and this guy and this guy, and then if they haven't done it here yet, then what do we actually have?
Right. I agree.
I don't think any of them should be comfortable with if they started last year that they think they should just be starting next season. They should all be playing for their lives.
At this point, it's got to be an open competition in that position for sure. Really, really quick. What's up, Pimp Down?
Hey, Pimp Down.
Let's talk a little bit more.
Right there.
I want to throw this to you, Blue. There's a couple of names that were mentioned here in the chat that obviously Miami has now, maybe gotten a little better traction with in the high school recruiting level. First, just real quick, this whole Jeremiah Smith thing going on with, and if you guys don't know, he's a 5-star kid out of Chaminade, um, #1 rated wide receiver in the country. I think he's #2 rated player in the whole country. Committed to Ohio State. Did mention a couple weeks ago that he wasn't going to return to Miami. Now it's being said that he is gonna come back for a visit in June. Um, I mean, this is a kid that no matter what is said out there, whether he says it or not, Mario's got to continue to recruit him until signing day when he signs in the dotted line, right?
Well, they did with Brandon Innes, and they tried. I give them credit. They came in a little bit late because they were told. I think this is the one thing that they learned, as they were told, "Oh, don't even go after him. He has no interest in it. He and Mark Fletcher are committed to Ohio State, and they're not going to budge." And and so here you pry Mark Fletcher away, and then all of a sudden you go, "Well, wait a minute, there's hope." And all of a sudden, what's his name? The receiver coach used to be with the Dolphins. Can't think of his name offhand. Brian Hartline, right? Brian Hartline was sleeping over the house every day, and before you know it, look at Brian Hartline. He's showing up to all these, obviously Jeremiah, and now they're after Josh Moore from West Broward, who's another target that I know Miami's looking at. Kind of a out of the way recruit, but it's so funny. I mean, they're all the way out on US 27, and nobody ever goes out there. But then now all you see is pictures of all these D1 major college coaches out there. FSU is there, and Miami, and Colorado. So if you got a guy like that, I think Jeremiah Smith pretty much understands that if he comes to Miami, he's, I guess, anywhere he goes, even Ohio State, because I even said that about Brandon Innes. I thought when, everyone was kind of downplaying him and, he's not Marvin Harrison. He's not. He is. And same thing with Jeremiah Smith. He's as good as anybody in the nation. He's big. He's quick. He's a terror. But I think now Miami feels that if they could just keep him, just say, hey, what's up? When they see him, maybe they'll get Chaminade down to one of their 7-on-7s, and they can eyeball him a little bit and a little bit more, and, throw out the red carpet for him. But that's the only thing you could do nowadays. I mean, unless somebody lands a huge NIL deal for him, here, and who knows? I mean, it's just, now it's become a bidding war, and, all over the country. And that's why Miami and a lot of schools are losing guys that they thought they have. It's because of the NIL deals, and nothing the college can do, because they can have no part of that, so to speak. So it's I'm surprised that Ole Miss isn't in on a lot more of these guys, because they have that. I mean, even before this thing was legal, they were coming up with bags all over the darn place for all these kids. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Boy,
you gotta tell the truth.
I mean, it's some dude in Oxford's watching this right now, like, whoa, what just happened? Why'd I catch a stray over here?
Well, come on.
I mean, I think our biggest recruiting tool for him is going to be our offense this season. Like, if we're going to have a chance with Jeremiah Smith, we have to prove that we can throw the ball and our quarterbacks and receivers can make plays. Otherwise, why would he want to come play on an offense that's not doing anything?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a good point that you bring up. But the whole thing is remember this, Melissa, that you only have Van Dyke one more year. So who are you going to sell if he's in?
Yeah, but at least prove that the offense can do something, though. It's the first year of Dawson's offense, and Gaddis's offense last year was horrible. Right. So we have to prove that we have somewhat of an offense, even if it's going to be a new QB.
Yeah, but you still have to have the talent, to at least to run that. And right now, as we said, no matter what offense that Miami is running now, it's that the other two quarterbacks are not ready. And, so he'll see that. But there's going to be early games. And I know last year we said that about Middle Tennessee and, Southern Miss and all those games like that the younger kids are going to have an opportunity to play. But I think this year they got a lot more talent, a lot more elite talent. Bethune doesn't have anywhere. Miami, Ohio doesn't have anywhere this talent. So I think you're going to get a lot of chance, and you're right. This is where you could take some of those young guys, and if the offense is running well, you know, with Van Dyke, and then all of a sudden they implement it with some of the backups, then you're 100% right. Then he could see what they have for the future.
I think that if you show that you can score some points, so you can move the ball up and down, you got to remember there's also the transfer portal. So
Yeah.
if you're talking about not being able to get a big time quarterback, or a quarterback's not ready, but you can show that you can score some points and TBD has a big season, then you're going to get some of the top quarterbacks in the country wanting to come here anyways and play for that kind of offense. So
yeah, that's a key. That's a key too, Jazz.
Absolutely.
That's a key. You got to have a guy. You have to have somebody to come in here that's going to be able to run that type of offense, and that's not always easy. You know, because we look at Ja'Cory Brown, and this offense really isn't suited to him. He's going to have to kind of, you know, bend and break to try to make it part of, you know, what he's all about, because he certainly loves it here, and they love him. But you know, you have, and there's a couple of guys out there that I know that they signed a couple of the quarterbacks, but there's a couple of other quarterbacks out there. The kid Dees from Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, I think he's really a good one. Kid Hedden, they're both 6'3" kids out of Tampa Catholic that were deemed as okay quarterbacks, but now I think they both, you know, now that Reeser's committed to Iowa, I think they're the next top quarterbacks in the state. So you know, Miami might want to look at
the kid coming in from California, the Central Kritza.
Well, he's only a junior too. Yeah. He's only a junior, so he's a 25 kid, and then they got the kid JC who came in from San Antonio, who's 6'4". So they have a battle. Isn't that neat? That's kind of crazy. That
and they got the kid from Killian, right, Antonio Smith.
Yeah, and he's the irony of that is his father's the head coach at Hialeah. To me, I never got that. I mean, why wouldn't you want to play for your dad? He may, when he sees that he's probably going to be the odd man out. But isn't that crazy that, he's not bad at all. But those two guys Kritza kid is really good. And with that team around him, Central's going to be a different world.
Yeah, they're going to be one of the best teams in the country for sure.
Yeah.
Moving along to, so we got wide receivers out of the way. Brown needs to go to wide receiver. I don't know about that, man. I don't know if I agree with Brown. Not suited for this office. I just think
that's not gonna. Hey, he'll transfer before he goes to right receiver.
Yeah, he's not.
He's a quarterback.
But it'll be a little different if he's in there, because he brings a different element to the offense. So I think, you know, we're not gonna one size fits all. What works for Van Dyke won't work exactly for Brown. But you know, coaches are paid to adjust.
Yeah,
and
I think most
coaches are willing to adjust. We saw last year they weren't.
I know that his development this year is going to be really important.
I don't even know if I agree with last year we didn't adjust. I think he was just lost. We tried a lot of different offenses. Like
why don't you ask Mike Loxley?
We weren't running the same offense with Ja'Cory in there that we were with Van Dyke in there. Just none of it worked.
Ask Coach Loxley what he feels at Maryland.
I don't know. He pulled Enos in, and now he got it.
Was it watching paint dry? What is it he said? Watching paint dry?
Enos, and then Josh Gaddis as
and then you know what? Enos got a promotion out of it. So let's see if Gaddis is the next one. So
I don't know. He's Loxley wasn't too happy about the way the offense was playing the other day, so that was kind of funny. All right, last I'll talk about a couple more guys, but I got to mention the tight end, right? The tight end position. Good old Danny Gillette's favorite position, baby. The tight ends, man. Caleb Odom is he's a big time kid who can come in. I mean, he caught what? I don't know. He caught like 70 balls or something like that. Had over 1,000 yards receiving. This is a kid that can come in. He likes Miami a lot. You know, I know I keep going to Blue, but Blue, I mean, as a tight end prospect, Caleb Odom is a pretty damn good one, huh?
Kid 6'5", weighs about 220, more of a receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end. You know, he's from a program in Carrollton that have developed a lot of guys, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of safeties. Yeah, this kid's a big body guy. I mean, and as you mentioned, Miami probably is at the top of his list right now because of the obvious that he can come in and compete in a very crowded room, but the crowded room is very young. I mean, even your number one, your deemed number one, Arroyo, how many games has he played? He's been out. He's got as much. But, when you look at the teams that are looking at him, Colorado, obviously, Ole Miss, we just mentioned that before, Tennessee and Alabama. I think Miami is probably sitting, right now. I mean, Miami's got 6. What do they have? 6 tight ends on the roster.
Yeah, they got a 42-year-old and a couple blocking tight ends.
Hey, watch out.
I'm there. Me and Vish are there. We can. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah,
it's not a knock.
you're talking about our age range there.
Yeah, but still, you guys ain't lining up tomorrow though. But the one thing that I got to say is, you take a look at that guy, and he's kind of a proven type of commodity. He comes in and just see. But the whole thing is depth, and to me, the Alabamas of this world, and the Ohio States, and the Georgias. I mean, Georgia's a classic example. They've had 50 kids drafted the last 2 years, and they'll still be a top 5 team next year. So that's where Miami definitely needs to get. And, when they go, well, you have too many. No, you never have too many, because, you can only, if you have 5 or 6 and only one's productive, it doesn't matter. And, but I think healthy Arroyo, you get a kid like that. And I think you're starting to look pretty good, at that position. But again, more offensive linemen over the next couple of years. When Miami struck with Taylor a couple of years ago, and they go, oh, I can't believe we got Taylor. Yeah, but you know what? Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, they're getting 2 of those, maybe 3 of them every cycle. So that's where Miami's got to be really good. Getting that, the line is so important. And I'm sure Melissa will agree with that. I mean, if you build a fortress, and here's a classic example. If you remember when Miami and USC were on probation, Miami went after Duke Johnson, who was a 4 or 5-star guy, but USC went after 4 and 5-star linemen, because they both had limited scholarships. But you figured if you get those 4 or 5 star linemen, they're going to make those 2-star guys look a lot better. So Miami, that's where Miami needs to build on the up front, and as well as you get a tight end that, and even though this guy's not a blocker, Miami does have some blockers.
I agree. Real quick before we finish up.
Wait, we're gonna talk tight ends and not get DJ in here.
I am.
Okay, all right.
Oh, that's right.
Just making sure. I mean, come on.
I think we muted him. That's why I know.
No. We don't want.
I don't even know what to say.
Before we get.
Meanwhile, Vish has everything to say, so maybe I'll let him have the floor.
I could filibuster for another hour, but I don't think people want to hear it.
You don't want to do that, all right?
People are heard enough of me and Vish going back and forth for 2 hours on the bucket spot. So
we'll talk about a DJ versus Mel tight end thing here. But before we get to that, let's talk about our sponsor, PrizePicks. Thank you, Vish. Are you ready? Are you ready for PrizePicks?
Vish is on mute.
Yeah, I know, but his hesitancy has me worried. PrizePicks.com. There we go.
I literally, I no joke. I never actually close this on my computer. It's this is always open.
You never know when I'm going to throw it in there.
Yeah. When you're going to remember to do the ad?
Right. When I'm going to remember, that's a good one. I'm going to remember to throw it in there. PrizePicks.com. Check them out when you log in. Make sure you put in the code word 5, FIVE, and they will match your deposit up to $100. It's real simple. Go to PrizePicks.com. Choose from 2 or more players. Pick the over-under on their individual categories. Win some money. Here's what's cool. You can mix and match players with different teams, different sports, completely different sports, really, because you can even do F1. I believe you can do golf, if I'm not mistaken.
Just don't take our F1 advice after this weekend.
Was it that bad? Did we kind of screw the pooch on that one? Big time?
Did we get any of it right? I think you got Hamilton right, and I think that was about it.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Don't take our advice on.
Yeah, smooth operator let you down, man.
Yeah, he was real smooth.
He smoothly slammed his brakes on, locked his car up in the pit lane, and got.
All right, we'll talk about that on Wednesday. Stop it.
Plug in the show, hitting the apex. Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Shameless plug. NHL, NBA, NFL, all that good stuff. College football when it's time, and make sure you guys check them out. Go to PrizePicks.com. put in the code word 5, FIVE. They will match your deposit up to $100 and make some money. Go to prizepicks.com. Check them out. DJ, this is a tight end position. And by the way, I actually wanted to go over one more wide receiver with you guys, but the tight end position, you still got to stack that there, right? You got, and look, now is the age of the pass catching wide receiver more than any other time, right? Where you don't really have to worry too much about that blocking tight end. If you want to get a blocking tight end, sometimes you throw in an extra O lineman in there, or you'll get a guy like Cam McCormick or Dom Mammarelli to kind of come in and get that, get some playing time at that position. But to be honest with you, Blue mentioned this, and we've kind of talked about it ad nauseum at this point, is we don't have any proven players at that position yet. You got a Royal who hasn't really played much. You got Jaleel Skinner, who's entering his second year and played sparingly. Looked pretty good last year, but still had to put on some muscle and kind of develop a little bit more. Bringing in more tight ends, whether it's next class or whether it's even in the portal. I feel like this is something for you to kind of chime in on here. How do you feel about a guy like Caleb Odom or anybody else for that matter?
Odom's a really good tight end. I mean, you mentioned earlier over 1,000 receiving yards, and Vish kind of talked about it earlier in the show. You want to build depth, and you want to be able to be in a position to get the best player available. What's the harm in offering him or showing interest in him? If you land him, then that elevates your tight end room. And more and more tight ends are becoming more so wide receivers than actual tight ends because they've become such a focal point of the passing game. Blocking tight ends are important too, but you're seeing more and more the tight end just being treated like another wide receiver. So landing a guy like Odom, who already has a really good offer sheet, would, be big for Miami because, we have a lot of big names in the room, like you guys have said, but we don't have a lot of proven production. So, I mean, at this point, we need depth and we need, good athletes. And, Odom certainly fits the bill there.
See, Mel, I did not go that far, right? I went 42 years old, which is,
Is this his last year of eligibility? Like, does he have any more years left after this?
He's got two.
He's got two.
Does he really?
35.
Yeah. So the actual numbers are he's technically in his
eighth.
He's going into his seventh, I think, and he can play through his eighth.
Unbelievable.
So yeah.
How does that even happen? Like, does injuries,
red shirts,
redshirting,
injuries, COVID.
Yep. Red shirts, injuries,
yeah,
and
the trifecta there.
He really got it all.
He's really he's taking student athlete to the next level.
I think Jamil Adai is younger than Cam McCormick at this point.
Honestly, I'd do the same thing though. If you're probably not going to the NFL and you like football, like why not?
He's got 17 degrees already, so
why not?
Think of the parties he'd be missing if he had to get a real job.
I'm curious to what he's getting all these degrees in.
Look, he's an astronaut. He's a thoracic surgeon. He's an engineer. He's also a physicist, and
no student debt.
He's a karate instructor.
Yeah, no student debt. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the degree from the University of Miami.
Absolutely.
Oh shoot, hell no.
Me and Vish know we each have two.
Or UNLV.
He tenured, yeah.
Nah, forget that.
Or I don't know where DJ. Where'd you go to school?
Worcester State.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know about that one.
He wears the sweatshirt sometimes. I've seen him rocking it. He represents.
There's a million guys that you could look at as reference for University of Miami who've done real well in the world. We only have Guy Fieri and Kenny Mayne who've.
Hey, that's two more than Barry University has, okay? So never mind that.
I guarantee you, if we look at your Wikipedia pages, there's got to be more impressive than both of us.
I think who would be the biggest from Barry? Of Yangon?
Sister Jean, isn't that lady's name?
Sister Jean from Loyola.
Well, it's the second time
I can't believe
been
that.
mentioned today.
We talked about Sister Jean on Focus.
You mentioned that on the pod.
Unbelievable. All right, real quick before we end, I forgot to mention this. I can't believe I forgot. We just got caught up in wide receiver talk with this other guy with Jeremiah Smith. Ryan Wingo has been visiting Miami a lot. He likes Miami. I know he's a big time 5-star, one of the best wide receivers in the country. Also committed to Georgia, but he has visited the Hurricanes, and it looks like he's really interested in playing for Miami. This would be a huge get if they could pull him away from Georgia somehow. I mean, that's going to be tough. But again, Blue, Ryan Wingo is the kind of kid that can come in and he's your wide receiver one potentially right off the bat, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's got everything that you're looking for. I mean, he's fast. He can catch. He separates when he when he catches the ball. Yeah, big time kid. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's just, but we're right now. I mean, and he's got some years left. So I believe he does, right? Wasn't he? Trying to think how many years he's got.
Isn't he a 2024 kid?
Yeah, he's a 24 kid.
Yeah.
So he's got the full, like, you bring in a guy like that, and he's going to be here for quite a few years. And see, I'm not so sure that somebody like Smith would be here for that long. I think Smith's going to be a couple years and out of here. I mean, I just think that this, and I know it's a whole different show, but the NIL has just jumbled this whole thing up.
I know. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy what that's done.
Well, just the fact that the colleges have no say-so in it. See, that to me, that's the craziest part. I am in no way ever going to say that I'm against student athletes, getting paid, because they should. But come on, there's got to be a limit. I mean, it's just it's got to be a point where Bryce Young comes in, he's making $1.9 million before he's ever taken a snap. And that's, it's kind of, I think it works its way throughout the rest of the team. That, I mean, you're 17 years old and all of a sudden you're seeing this kid, holy Christmas. I'll never see that money in my life. But whatever. It sounds like I'm a sore guy for that, but it's the
they
truth.
generate that money though, so
they do.
But I do think right now the market will normalize. Like, they realize it's not worth this investment because it's a high school kid. We don't even know if he's good. And I think what right now it's kind of the Wild West a little bit. The market will take care of itself. Yeah, and yes, some kids will probably be in the 7-figure range because, frankly, they generate that much money. But I don't know that it's going to be as common to buy the recruit out of high school because it's too uncertain. It's almost like, if with drafts without scouting, and you're just like, oh yeah, let's use the number one pick and commit all this time. Like, if you think about the amount of time and effort and professionalism that goes into that, versus like NIL being like John Ruiz throwing a check down, like this is going to blow up in a lot of people's faces when they overpay for talent that's not proven. And I think that'll like kind of flatline a little bit.
Well, yeah, think about it like this. Sorry, Vish. Go ahead. Think about it like this. Would you rather pay for an unproven high school kid, or would you rather pay to keep your star receiver in the program for one more year? I would rather have the star receiver for one more year.
You can't answer your own question.
Well,
I agree with DJ.
There you go.
Melissa answered it for you.
Anybody else?
No.
All right. Well, before we go, I did a little alumni check for Jazz and Blue here, since they said they had no notable alumni. So, Jazz, your list is a little short, and there's some people on there I'm not going to bring up, but actually,
Which college?
Barry. But actually, Shaquille O'Neal legitimately. Legitimately did the coursework, 1,100 hours of service, whatever, to get his doctorate. So that counts.
All right.
Wow. You trumped everybody.
And then
Diesel, baby.
And then Blues actually got obviously, like UNLV, especially in basketball, has a very storied athletic process.
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson.
Well, there's a list of a bunch of athletes that have come through that.
Stacey Ogman.
Yeah, but
Sidney Green.
Here's an
I'm talking
off-the-wall
about
one.
football.
Yeah, but coming.
Yeah,
off
Randall
of that,
Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham's a legend. So, but coming off of that, like, to the ear of his face, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he definitely trumps Guy Fieri, I would feel. So.
Ah, come on.
Wait, hold on a second. I didn't say there was anything wrong with Guy Fieri. Blue's the one who used it as a pejorative. All we got is Guy Fieri. So I was like, oh, you got Jimmy Kimmel too. So
Pretty big.
Yeah.
Also, before we sign off, I digged into a different box of crap to find this to show Blue. My
Oh, look at
Parabellum
that,
again.
Tarabella Trojans.
Yeah. That's a throwback to
Nice.
last week after Jazz had left the show.
There we go. Made
yeah.
sure to find that before I came on the show.
I do remember they had Brad Timpf, who was a big, tall guy. He actually went to Miami for basketball out of Taravella. Look him up.
I don't know how all of this information fits in one brain, but
It does.
It's very impressive.
Very crowded brain.
This game is getting tough, guys. I think we should.
Did you see this question? This is the latest question.
You got any more shows coming up or what? I thought you were recruiting with Dan Marino and Joe Montana were in high school. Yeah, pretty much.
But I didn't read that. But where I was with Dan Marino.
You weren't recruiting.
Yeah, I was. I've been doing this since 1970. Yeah, I know. I remember. Actually, Dan Marino was a lot higher recruited out of, and he was staying home in Pittsburgh anyway, and because they put everybody around him. Dan Marino was. I mean, Joe Montana was good. I mean, you know, they're both out of Pennsylvania. You know, I'll tell you what, Pennsylvania's put out a lot of quarterbacks. You know, Jim Kelly and I was around. Believe me, I remember. And but Miami was never in the mix for any of those guys back then.
Not then. All right, fellas, ladies.
Jazz wants to watch the end of the Heat game.
Well, yeah, just quick plugs. We got F1 show on Wednesday at 8. We got baseball right after that. A couple of big ACC series trying to lock up a national seat without pitching, which will be impressive. And then buckets next week on next Tuesday. So, Tuesday is next week's show.
Jazz,
and I gotta figure out when we're getting Matt back.
I was at the I was at the races both days, brother.
Were you?
Yeah, both days. The Saturday when they were doing the trials and the timing, and I was up in the AutoNation booth.
Look at that.
Made up for where I was yesterday, but so.
Bro, Blues figures it out, man. There's nothing Blue can't get into around here.
Yeah, no,
he's a legend.
Legendary Larry Bluestein is not an exaggeration. I don't know why you
didn't call me and take me with you, but whatever. That's
I thought you guys already have press passes for that stuff.
No, I did that last year.
How could you do a weekly show and not have press passes for the?
I did last year, which is not all it's cracked up to be. I'll say if you can actually.
You don't know the struggle is real.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Yeah,
the heat and the noise, man, they do you in.
The hoops I jumped through to get that, and I still think they made a clerical error and somehow screwed up and let me in there. But yeah, I did that last year. This year I was running my own race up here, so.
And it's
when you think about it, they have credentials from like 100 countries.
Yeah,
I mean there were people from all over the place. I did see Pat Mahomes yesterday, though.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, I had a few. All those people that come out to be seen don't know a hell of a lot about the racing, but
they don't know Jack. 70% of that crowd doesn't know what the hell they're doing there.
Mahomes gets around. He was at the Derby on Saturday. He kind of started that. He actually started the Derby.
And then he was at the race. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow. Well.
Nice to meet you, Rich.
All right.
This was fun. We'll see you guys next week, but stay tuned for all the rest of the shows on Wednesday as well. We got Hitting the Apex and then baseball. Sayonara.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.